Here I am, Andy XL, back with another NFXL podcast on the Tuesday, the 19th of August. Just gone 10 o'clock in the evening, UK time. That'd be 5 o'clock East Coast, 2 o'clock West Coast. Um, so I've looked at two of the divisions already, which are both the southern divisions, which were the poorest divisions in the NFL last season. This time I'm going to keep moving on up through those divisions in terms of how good they were last season. And that'll be this time looking at the AFC West. With the inverted brackets, challengers to the Bills mustering just 17 wins between them last season. The question has to be, can any of them actually put up any sort of challenge to the boys from Buffalo as they seek to continue their domination of the division in this decade? The Bills are the only team to win this division in the 2020s, following 11 consecutive Patriots division titles. The Dolphins need to go back to 2008 for their last division title, and the Jets' long-suffering fans, 2002 was their last ascent to the top of this particular summit. On the face of it, the Pats are entering the second season of a long rebuild. The Jets have invested heavily in veteran talent that didn't work out for them, and the Dolphins are still reliant on a concussion-prone quarterback to lead them to glory. So the prognosis isn't really very good. So it seems to be another division that we go into the season with an eminently predictable winner, and that should be the Buffalo Bills. Now, let's have a look at what they've done this off-season. They had little or no cap space to work with, but have managed to bring in Damar Hamlin at safety, and they needed to replace Amari Cooper and Matt Collins. They've done that with Josh Palmer and Elijah Moore. That leaves them overall looking weaker at wide receiver, though. Dan Jackson replaces Russell Douglas at cornerback, and the front office's nimble cap space creation also allowed them to add Joey Bosa at defensive end. The defense, particularly against the pass, was vulnerable last season, and they needed to upgrade their D-line to add more pass rushing talent and get some penetration out the middle too via a defensive tackle upgrade. They have added TJ Sanders and Dion Walker via the draft to bolster the interior of the D-line. Bosa will certainly do that in terms of the pass rush, but his recent injury erosion remained a concern, so adding Landon Jackson via the draft on the edge was a good move. It has to be said, though, that the 6-week suspensions for Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hecht will hurt them in the first part of the season on that D-line. Whilst they look weaker at wide receiver, the additions on the edge and at defensive tackle, along with Maxwell Hairston in the secondary, should make the Bills better on defense and overall than they were in 2024. And for me, they are the team by far the most likely to retain this division title in 2025, and maybe have another serious tilt of winning it all. But they've had enough cracks at it now, and they need to start showing some real postseason form. But they should get to the postseason this season. So let's move on to the other teams in this division. Miami Dolphins. Now they found themselves in a similar cap position to the Bills, making it hard for them to close the 5-game gap between the two teams at the end of last season via free agency moves. Now, if you look, they re-signed Tyrell Dodson. They got Benito Jones back. Holland and Poyer, that's Javon Holland and Jordan Poyer. They both left vacancies at safety, which have been filled by Ifeata Melifonwu and Ashton Davis. Anthony Walker has left, but KJ Britt and Willie Gay come in, and that covers any need at inside linebacker. They still look light on the edge, following Calais Campbell's departure, so using their first draft pick on Kenneth Grant was a good choice to try and address that issue. They brought Nick Westbrook-Akini, and that could be a sneakily good addition at wide receiver, whilst James Daniels comes in at guard along with Jonas Savainia via a second-round draft pick. Another draftee, Ollie Gordon, will provide support at running back for Devon Shanhay and Jalen Wright. The Dolphins, though, look paper thin at tight end after trading away Jonnu Smith and taking a real chance on bringing Darren Waller out of retirement. And he's not really seen any pre-season action because guess what? He's trying to get his conditioning back. But I mean, he's only had one or two good, reasonable seasons in the NFL anyway. So they look really thin at tight end. The precarious nature of their starting quarterback's health to Tagovailoa and the mood music pre-season, which pretty much contains only bum notes, I see the Dolphins getting no more than the 8 wins they achieved in 2024, meaning they will do well to finish second in this division next season. And for me, this could be one of the teams where we see the first head coach get fired this season. So, that's one to watch. They really do need to do something this season. Otherwise, look in that direction for a firing. The New York Jets, as I said, they had a list of eight free agents. Well, that's before we even look at the departure of Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, and that all of which indicated that the Jets had it all on to put together a quality roster for 2025. Those free agents: DJ Reed went to Detroit, Hassan Reddick's gone to Tampa Bay, Tyron Smith has retired, Morgan Moses is now in New England. They did get Jamie and Sherwood back. Tyler Conklin has gone to the Chargers. Got Isaiah Oliver back at cornerback, and Javon Kinlaw, the defensive tackle, went to Washington. So, they've lost a lot of talent there. They brought Justin Field in at quarterback, but that looks short of the levels needed to win this division. If they couldn't get anywhere near it with Aaron Rodgers last season, does anybody really say that Justin Fields is going to be able to do better? Question. Um, Adams' replacement is Josh Reynolds. That's a clear downgrade if ever there was one. The league's wide receiver is another weak area overall. Now, let's be honest, they were a mess last season and ended up with just 5 wins to their name. The rush offense and defense both ranked towards the bottom of the league, indicating both O and D lines need addressing. Like I said, on the O line, Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses are gone. And all they've done really is brought in Armand Membu via the draft, offensive tackle. Javon Kinlaw went to Washington. Derek Nardi is coming in to replace him. Looking at the pass rushing unit, Hassan Reddick has gone and not been replaced. So that looks to be another area of concern for the Jets. Now they've without a tight end as well, so they've brought in a rookie tight end via the draft. And the Jets are not without talent on a roster, but having traded back in round 1 of the draft for future capital, they look like a team that needs to rebuild for the long term, starting from next season or this season as it's going to be now. A season in which improving on their meagre 5-win total of 2024 would be an achievement given what's happened this off-season. So I really don't see the Jets being a factor here. I see the Dolphins struggling to get to the 8 wins of last season. The Bills are going to be roughly as good as they were, maybe slightly better. So that just leaves the Patriots. They finished bottom of the division last season, but they have the quarterback of the future by the look of it in Drake May, and they had the most amount of cap space to build a team around him to move them back into contention in the next season or two. Given the potential regression or lack of improvement from both the Dolphins and Jets, the Patriots could have a shot of making the postseason in 2025, and they've spent a good amount of their cap space in free agency. Carlton Davis replaced Jonathan Jones. Kairos Tonga does likewise for Daniel Akelali, whilst both Milton Williams and Harold Landry add star quality on the edge following Dietrich Wise's departure. With Robert Spillane added at inside linebacker and Marcus Epps providing more depth at safety, there clearly has been an emphasis on the D side of the roster via free agency, and that should make this Patriots D a unit to be feared in 2025. So on the offensive side, like I said, Drake May's the prize asset. Building an O-line to protect him had to be top of their to-do list, hence the arrivals of more free agents in the likes of Garrett Bradbury, Morgan Moses and Wes Schweitzer. And they've also added Will Campbell and Jared Wilson early in the draft. So again, they've done the right work in the right areas, or it appears that way. Improving the receiver core was another must. The free agency addition of Stephon Diggs and draftee Kyle Washington will help them do that in that area too. And also, Ashton Kizum has been showing up reasonably well in pre-season, so as an undrafted free agent. So there's some hope there if Stephon Diggs can stay away from certain coloured substances on certain boats. Ramondre Stevenson does okay for them at running back, aside from his fumbling issues. But adding Trevelyan Henderson via the draft at running back looks like another really strong move by the Pats. So for me, they've been highly active and effective in free agency and have now pretty much aced the draft as well. And to be honest, I cannot really recall a team having such an effective off-season. And for me, I think the future looks really bright for the Pats now. In this division, they definitely have a good chance to jump from bottom to second and possibly make the postseason. So to sum up on the division, I'm really, it would take some sort of catastrophe for the Bills not to win this division again and continue their domination of it. Um, and they could be again a bit, the two divisions are gone. I said Houston are going to win one, but I really don't see them being much of a factor postseason. The Bucks are going to win another, and I can definitely see them being a factor. The Bills, I would actually put them behind the Bucks in my pecking order of teams that are ones to watch come the postseason, but they should be there. Of the other three teams, I cannot see either the Dolphins or Jets improving on their win totals the last season. And like I said, it's the Patriots for me that might be the one to watch. Um, so let's think about it. The Bills and Patriots, they have something to look forward to in 2025. I really think the Bills will win the division again, and the Patriots, I think they've definitely got a chance of getting to 9 or 10 wins and competing for a wild card spot into the postseason. But I just don't see the Finns or the Jets being a factor this season. And like I said, I think we might be looking at Miami for a head coach firing fairly early in the season, given that nothing seems to be going right there. It just all seems to be going wrong. So that's my predictions for this division, the AFC East. The Bills are going to win the division again. Patriots, I think, will make the postseason. Um, I'll say that here and now. The Dolphins, 8 wins is the max for them. I just can't. It's 6, 7, 8 wins, and probably more towards the lower end of that. The Jets, again, they'll struggle to get above the 5 wins, maybe 6 at best. But I just don't see either of them being much of a factor. So that's the AFC East. Will be three of the 8 divisions done. I'll come back with a fourth one very soon. So if you want to hear more from me, wait for that one. See you soon.